Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Terrance Drew, members of the media, Mrs. Lanicia Collins-Williams, our sign language interpreter, and all our viewers and listeners, good afternoon. And welcome to this another edition of The Roundtable. I am Javan Liebert, Press Secretary to the Prime Minister. The Roundtable series forms part of the government's ongoing efforts to keep the public informed and engaged with matters of national importance. The Roundtable presents an opportunity for the media to engage the Prime Minister on government issues and concerns in their quest to properly report and provide updates to the general public. Specifically, we are joined here today by representatives from ZIZ, Zai Hendrickson, Esken Suas, Ebony Brandon, Win FM, Lorraine Wilkin, and Sugar City FM, Rankin Ralston. I ask that you please ensure that your phones are on silent as a show of respect and to not interrupt the discussions that would ensue. At this point, I will turn the mic over to the Honorable Prime Minister for his opening remarks. Prime Minister.
Very much. Good afternoon to all. Thank you very much, Press Secretary, Mr. Javan Liebert, and welcome again to another roundtable. I want to welcome all of our viewers and listeners, our citizens and residents alike, as we are here to discuss, as I am here to discuss, matters of significance with respect to the development and advancement of our federation. And as usual, before I get started, I will go into a few matters and then open up the conversation with the press around the round table so that we can have a meaningful and constructive discussion and on important matters. First of all, I want to say that I want to give a shout out to the Ministry of Health, the perspective of the nurses, the doctors, the obstetrician, the gynecologist and all, the nurses. And I will also say anybody who is associated with the Ministry of Health. Last year, 2025, we had 0 maternal deaths. 0 maternal deaths suggests that we are a health system that is robust and a health system that is really advancing. To have 0 maternal deaths is a good sign and signal that the healthcare system is taking care of some of our most vulnerable persons. Of course, being pregnant is not an illness, but being pregnant can, of course, is considered a physiological state, but it puts, of course, women at a higher risk of other type of health issues. I want to say also that we have been able to manage women with high-risk pregnancy. We have actually, last year, we started a particular approach to ensure that we don't get any maternal deaths, at least women who are high risk will get good care. And at the hospital, I want to thank the CMO for really leading on this, where we put a strategy in place, where we have nurses and midwives who are stewards. So we have a database of all the women in St. Kitts and Nevis who get pregnant, whether they're in the private doctors or whether they're in the public system. And so we monitor all of them. And the difference in this is that if a patient goes to a private doctor and that patient would miss 2 consecutive visits, or the doctor become concerned that that patient, a pregnant woman, is not showing up for her visits, then she would be contacted by our stewards who would ensure that she gets continued care and does not drop through the cracks. And that has helped tremendously. And also I started in my own office a fund for high-risk pregnancy so that women who are high risk can get the care they need if they have any difficulty or challenges in terms of cost or any lack of financial resources, or just need help with a high-risk pregnancy. Of course, that high-risk pregnancy has to be diagnosed by an obstetrician who would then forward the information, and then the care or help that is needed is then offered. So I want to say in 2025, I saw a story out there, they said 2026. Maybe I said 2026 in Parliament, but it's actually the whole of 2025. Up to 2026 now, we have not had any. So it's gone well over a year. However, 2025, when we reflect on that, we recognize that we had no maternal deaths. The other matter is that we saw a significant drop in mortality, which means the number of people who died. That number dropped as well. So it means that, again, the health sector is showing significant improvement in that regard. And so we saw a drop in overall mortality, our deaths, and we saw definitely, maternal deaths. Along with the other things taking place in health, these are two things that are very, very notable. And lastly, to say that the MRI building has reached 95 to 96% of completion. Again, it is a very highly specialized building. It is the first of its kind in our federation. Our builders and contractors have never seen a building like this before that carries specificities that would accommodate an MRI machine. And so I am very, very happy that the situation is we will have our MRI definitely this year. But that knowledge that we would have gained, that information that we would have gained in terms of the construction of such a housing for MRI will remain with us. And so when we are to construct others, it will be much easier, of course. So I want to really give a shout out to the Ministry of Health on these significant advancement and approaches and outcomes. Now, the other one I want to touch on is to do with the Frigate Bay matter, the Frigate Bay land. And I want to just be able to give some, I talked about it in Parliament, but I want to then repeat it here again, that there are some real achievements in procuring or getting this Frigate Bay land. Now, this agreement that we had to purchase and to acquire the Frigate Bay land brings 77.23 acres of prime Frigate Bay land into full state ownership, along with the golf course lands, the golf club house, and its operating company. So everything is now under the ownership of the government. So we know that there was an agreement with, of course, a company to manage the golf course, which is in association with Marriott. That agreement had part most of the golf course. The last 3 holes, that land that was in that agreement only accommodated 15 holes. The last 3 holes did not belong to the state. The last 3 holes to make it an 18-hole course was privately owned. We have now acquired that. So we have acquired a total of 77.23 acres of new prime land in Frigate Bay. What is this going to do? We intend there will be a 47.97 acre parcel. We will use some of that, subdivide it into residential and commercial lots with a clear focus on providing young citizens access to land ownership. So this move is to get our people to be able to build in Frigate Bay. So I want our people to understand that we are going to create this scenario. What we want to do is break down barriers and any issue that people might raise with respect to. Over here is for a certain set of people and over there for a next set. We are eliminating that, and we'll make lots available for our ordinary people here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So if you have a young professional, it doesn't matter which part of the country they may come from, they have the opportunity to own land in Frigate Bay, prime land that we have acquired and we will make available. We will also be expanding high-value development opportunities. There's another 13.16 acre parcel overlooking Half Moon Bay. Will support luxury villas and potentially a high-end hotel. I am not declaring that the hotel is going to open there. I'm just saying that the land is available, and that is one of the possibilities that can happen. We also will make sure that this type of arrangement will redound to the benefits to the benefit of our people. Let me say something clear here. And I was transparent with this, we bought all of this through our CBI program with less than 800 shares. So we got out of the agreement to get the golf course under our total control. We got 77 acres plus of prime land, including the golf course and the dome. And when I look at this and I think about the prison project, where 5,500 were used in our CBI program, where they call them units as shares, to build a prison. And with 1/7 of that, 1/7 of that, we were able to acquire the golf course out of the agreement, but that was an agreement which, was with the government. But the new land, 77 plus acres of some of the best land in St. Kitts and Nevis, including the dome and the golf house. One has to ask a serious question. Why is it you had to use 5,500 for a prison when now we recognize we can just use this amount to acquire that land? That 5,500 that was used to build the prison, that could have acquired all the land that we just acquired in Frigate Bay. It could have built a hospital. It could have built the school. It could have put in all the water we need, and it could have put in the desalination plants we need. It could have put in the solar plant we need. That was enough to build out all of that and still houses. So one has to ask a serious question. Why is it a decision like that was made? This even makes the prison deal worse than I initially thought, because now I'm at the helm. And even though the CBI has been going through its challenges, so I did not even meet it in the state that they met it in 2015 when it was at its peak. I met it damaged by a prison project. And we are able to acquire prime land with 1/7 or so of the same shares or units that they would have used for the prison. I asked myself, why such a decision was made? That was one of the worst decisions ever made, I would say, from an economic standpoint and using our resources in St. Kitts and Nevis. That, of course, is egregious on all levels. I would like to ask the former administration, why did you use? And remember, I remember clearly when they were asked how many shares were used to purchase, to do the prison project. They said it was an industry secret. So they hid the information from the people. Maybe they thought they would have been in office all the time. Hid it, and the reason why they hid it is because they know it was an egregious act against the people of St. Kitts and Nevis to use 5,500 shares to build a prison, and now we are recognizing to achieve prime land, we only had to use 1/7 of it. In addition to that, of course, we'll get government fees out of this, so the government will still get a part of this. So it means that this was severely abused by the former administration. And with all of that, they were able to raise $4.2 billion, according to them, when they met the CBI program in good stead. And what have they delivered with $4.2 billion? No water, no energy, no school, no hospital, limited infrastructure, no new industries. What have they done with $4.2 billion? What have they done? And with less, this Labour administration is certainly delivering. Just to add on to it, Monday the 24th, or Tuesday the 24th, we are going to fully commission the first publicly owned desalination plant here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Cost us around 50 to 60 million EC dollars. You know how much shares that was when the CBI was good? A few shares could have given you that. But instead, 5,500 shares later, and $4.2 billion later, plus another $500 million in the SIDF, which brings it to another $500 million, nearly $5 billion, and still nothing significant and substantial to show for it. I also want to say today that the Prime Minister's Gala, which was held this year, the proceeds from that gala, for the first time, well, it's the second time, last year, dedicated it to the Children's Medical Fund. And this year, it was dedicated to the Breast Cancer Foundations. And today, I present both the Breast Cancer Foundations with a check each of $15,000. So that is $30,000 directly from the Prime Minister's Gala for the betterment of our women, or men. Men can get breast cancer as well, for those who may need some support. And I want to thank them for the tremendous work they've been doing here in St. Kitts and Nevis. I've also mentioned that it's time to get a prostate health program going. It is about time. Because what we could have done as well is dedicate some of this money to prostate health, which would go directly to men. So we have a pregnant women fund. We have support for children. We now give support to women again through the Breast Cancer Foundations. And at no point men are being mentioned. We cannot leave our men behind. We have families in St. Kitts and Nevis. Families are made up of children, men, women, and others. And therefore, we want to make sure that our men are not left behind. And so I have asked advisor Austin Edinburgh, who is a prostate cancer survivor. He has spoken of this publicly, and I have said to him, asked his permission to say this publicly, and he said that I, of course, can talk about it. I've asked him to help initiate a prostate health foundation here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And I will be the first donor, and I've pledged $5,000 of my own money to that foundation that I hope will be formed soon so that our men can get support. I remember I've seen a lot of men in my office with prostate cancer, and I can never forget. Austin himself was one of my patients as well, and we were able to cure him. He will speak of it when he talks about setting up this foundation. And I remember there was a gentleman who came to see me, my patient, and I diagnosed him with prostate cancer. And I told him the cost, and he shook my hand. I will never forget it. And he said, Dr. Drew, thank you for your service, but I can't afford it. I am not going to leave my family in debt, and I'm going home to die. He was dead 1 month later. He had nowhere to turn, nowhere to go. So I normally see when women come down with breast cancer, these foundations are a source of help and support. So we need that for men. And I've said to Advisor Edinburgh to get it started as soon as possible, because I'm very sure there are men out there who need help right now with dealing with prostate health. So I hope that will be formed within the first quarter so that men can start getting some help that they would need in order to deal with their health situations. The other matter I want to touch on is the matter to do with CARICOM. As I said, I started CARICOM with a bang. There's no secret about that. There's no secret that CARICOM has been challenged, that the region has been challenged significantly because of the geopolitical situation. But I have taken a very direct approach, a proactive approach, an approach that is based on hope, an approach that is pragmatic, and I know can bring about results. I want to thank all the fellow leaders within the region and those in CARICOM for their strong support thus far. I have visited about 5 leaders. Tomorrow, I'm traveling to Bahamas to meet with the Prime Minister there. Then I'm going to Jamaica to meet with the Prime Minister there. And then I'll return and fly down to Guyana and Suriname to meet with both presidents ahead of the 50th regular meeting of CARICOM, which is to be held here in Bastia, St. Kitts, from the 24th to the 27th of February. So I want to thank my fellow heads for their strong support up to this point. As I've said, I am not the Prime Minister of CARICOM. I am not the President of CARICOM. I am the Chair of CARICOM at this time to seek to coordinate and bring consensus among the heads that form CARICOM. And so that is moving steadily along. And from the 24th to the 27th, CARICOM heads will be here for us to discuss many critical and pertinent issues with respect to the region. So I just wanted to update. There's some questions about costs. I mostly travel by RSS. As you know, we all pay into the RSS on a yearly basis. And so being the head of CARICOM, I get the opportunity to use the RSS plane, which is a military plane. It's no luxury at all to move around the region and to meet the leaders. So there are those who are suggesting that this is costing all this type of money for me to reach the leaders. But that is not so at all. And it is important. I see some people suggesting that I have a Zoom meeting. This is not time for Zoom meeting. This is serious business. This is time that leaders sit in a room, close the door, and have frank, eyeball to eyeball, face-to-face discussion ahead of the 50th regular meeting so that, in a sense, we can put CARICOM on the best footing. And so we have been having these discussions, and I look forward to the outcome, to the meeting, and to the outcome from CARICOM. So I can say that all leaders thus far have committed. I think we have, if not 100%, 95%. And so I want to thank the leaders for really putting themselves forward to come to St. Kitts and Nevis, to come to Bastille for that CARICOM 50th regular meeting. Also want to add here, with respect to the Cardigan home, we have now officially appointed His Majesty's Prison to renovate and take care of the Cardigan home. They will be attached to the Cardigan home from now onwards. The Cardigan home has not seen any major improvement or upliftment for many, many years. And the decision has been taken that that cannot continue that way. And so we are going to start very soon. We have very skilled persons who are at His Majesty's Prison. We have carpenters, builders, contractors, and we are mobilizing them to take care of the Cardigan home. So we will see significant refurbishing of the Cardigan home taking place this year. We must not leave anybody behind. The persons at Cardigan home, we understand their situations, but a country is known by how it takes care of the least among us. We must take care of the least among us. And I use that word least because the Bible used that word. It is not to say anybody is less than anybody else. I just want to invoke the spirit of the Bible in this one. I think there's somewhere in the Bible, if you all go to church, what you have done unto the least of us, you have done unto me. I'm sure that there's a piece in the Bible that said that. Am I correct? Yeah. So in that sense is which I'm speaking. So we can't leave our children behind, can't leave our pregnant women behind, can't leave our sick people behind. We can't leave those who are in Cardigan home behind. And so we're going to see significant development taking there. Now, the last one I want to mention, while I'm on this, is to the desalination plant. I mentioned it in passing, but I want to talk a little bit more about it. This desalination plant is being constructed. It is now complete. It is producing presently 2 million gallons of potable water daily. During the commissioning period, we know that there were areas receiving water already. Frigate Bay, Bird Rock, and so forth. In addition to that, we have done some other work to divert water to other areas that were water scarce. This is a $60 million investment. In addition to the investment we made in Keon to find that new well. And that is in addition to the drilling that is presently taking place. We have contracted a company from Trinidad and Tobago who is now presently drilling. Right now, they are in Sadler's drilling. They have about 10 sites. And we don't intend to ever go back to a place where people can't have 24/7 water. So the journey has really started. Today, I just want to impress on our people that our water rates are some of the lowest in the Caribbean. And I want to encourage our people to really pay the water rate. When you pay your bill, the government does not make a profit. The government uses that money to invest in drilling, desalination plant. The government invests that money to make sure you can get potable water at any time of the day. That is our aim, and we are on a good path. but we cannot do it alone. And so we ask our people to please comply with your water bill. The water rates in St. Kitts and Nevis, the rates are very low. And as a result of that, we think it's not a strain on our people. And we're asking that you comply and pay your water bill. If you have a water bill, go to the water department. If it's very high, set up a payment plan. Set up something with the water department so that the water department can collect that money and reinvest it in you. Because you have to ask yourself the question, if I am using water every day and I am not paying my bill, well, where's the government getting money from to produce the water? Where's the government getting money from to pay the workers? Where's the government getting money from to upgrade and refurbish and so forth? One has to ask themselves that question. So if I'm not paying my bill and I expect water, I have to ask myself, is that a fair proposition? I don't think so. The water bills are extremely high, and if it's high, I'm asking you to go to the water department, build a relationship, and get on a payment plan, and pay down your water so that you can continue to have water. We certainly don't make any profit from water here in St. Kitts. As a matter of fact, we subsidize water heavily. So the little that is charged, or what is charged, let us set up avenues to make sure that we comply with the cost for these bills. And so I just want to open with those few words and thank you, of course, for your patience today. I had a number of visits today and a few very international meetings, and so I was delayed a bit. But thank you very much for your time. I'm now opening it up to the round table so that we can dialogue. Yes.
Yes. Good afternoon, Prime Minister.
Good afternoon.
Rankin,
yes.
Sugar City FM. I know it's been a while since I've been seen here. And a few, deaths in the family, grandmother, mother. So, yes, I appreciate that.
Yes, you're welcome.
I'm going to start my question where you pretty much end off with CARICOM. Mm-hmm. Now, congratulations once again for being the new chair for CARICOM. Now, we know Venezuela situation with the U.S. and so forth. We also know Venezuela is not a part of CARICOM, but there have been the aggression towards Guyana, and the only leader, and if I'm mistaken, you can correct me, that came out and actually speak out against the aggression towards Guyana is the Prime Minister from Trinidad. She mentioned that if Venezuela makes a move on Guyana, she would, defend or help along with the U.S. As you know, they have some military personnel in Guyana. My question is, what stands, as you as the new chair for CARICOM, push towards trying to see how CARICOM could try to bring some tension, some easy tension, I should say, towards this aggression that Venezuela is pushing towards Guyana. I know you have your work cut out for you as a new chair, and you have the heads of meeting soon, which I'm sure that probably might be one of the issues that come up. My next question is pertaining to the step. It's the step is going to decrease 50% with next month, March, right? Towards, businesses who have been assisting for quite some time. Now, the question on a lot of persons' mind is do you think the timing is right now for this initiative to take place, given the fact that, cost of living, things have been going up, and also the fact with you actually making the call for more babies as well. We know a lot of business places cannot foot the other 250. So that's the whole thing. Do you think the timing is right now pertaining to that?
All right, thank you very much for your question. I think talking about the fertility and more babies may not be directly connected to STEP at all. All right, so they're two different matters. So I would separate them, but I would answer your question with respect to the step. And you made a very good point. You spoke about the timing. COVID ended in 2022, roughly. And during that time, the government carried a lot of support to our people. We carried this step. Actually, we increased the step because tourism was so delayed and people were still out of jobs. We carried this step and we increased the number so that people can have a source of income. That's number one. Secondly, it was just after COVID, and to have made this shift in step just after COVID would have been the bad timing. So if we're talking about timing and what is bad timing, when you saw the economy during COVID and after COVID, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. So we have given businesses 3.5 to 4 years of post-COVID recovery time. And what we have seen in the economy is that businesses are recovering. So if there's ever timing, this is certainly a much better timing than 2022 after COVID, 2023, 2024, 2025, when we actually increased the step, gave support to more businesses, and we, at that point, did not take any measure because businesses were still in the process of recovery. I can tell you, even TDC and so forth, TDC had the largest profit ever last year. National Bank turned interest. Profit. Central Bank had profit. Hospitals had profit. So we know, and we look at these public companies because they give us a good idea of what is happening in the economy. TDC being a local company making the biggest profit, there's nothing to sneeze at. And therefore, what we are saying now, we are 4 years out of COVID roughly, 3.5 to 4 years, and this is a better timing than to have done it earlier. Now, with respect to the STEP program, well, it used to be PEP. STEP came under the last administration, and they spoke about how they would transform it and so forth. I think it is reasonable that because every year, do you know how much we spend on STEP presently? $75 million per year on STEP. There are persons who have been working in some businesses for 8, 9, 10 years. When you add up the amount of support that business got for that worker, $600,000, $800,000. That is serious investment into a business. And at some point, the business would have to say, look, I have gotten this significant support. I am so grateful for it. You gave me 100% support with these. The government bore a bill of $75 million per year. I think it is reasonable then to think, can we share the burden? Can we share the cost? The government continues to pay half, and you pay half. And the person, of course, the valued worker, continue to work. And that is what we are saying. And therefore, what you can do, help a business to a point. Because if you have a business, you can say, I'm just starting out, so I might need some support. Can the government help me? But you have to be working towards getting on your feet so that the government help you to get on your feet, and then you can continue, and then the government can go and help other new businesses coming on who might need some support. And so you help businesses, they graduate out the program, you bring on others who can benefit. So in a sense, you're training your workers, and that training is significant, and you're helping businesses to get to a point, and you're coming back and helping other businesses. So it becomes a stream of helping small businesses to get on their feet. But at some point, one would expect it just can't be that the government pay your worker forever. And I don't think that is an expectation of a reasonable business person as well. So I think this is done with a lot of compassion, but a lot of understanding. And what we're saying is, can we have a shared approach to STEP? You bear some of the cost, the government bears some of the cost, and so that business can continue to grow, and that business can continue to flourish. So that's one question. The other one you asked, let me answer both. The other one you asked was the question about Guyana. I want to just draw your memory a little bit. When the issue of Venezuela and Guyana came up, I want to drag your memory that there was a summit. The summit was held in St. Vincent at the airport, where we brought The then president, President Maduro, CARICOM did this, and we brought President Ali of Guyana. Both of them sitting across at a table, maybe two of these together, and talking face to face, man to man. And coming out of that was what you call the Argyle Agreement. And that Argyle Agreement said that between Venezuela and Guyana, there will be no military action. CARICOM did that. And so CARICOM has done significantly, CARICOM did a significant amount of work to ensure that there was no conflict between Guyana and St. Vincent. So I understand how you're phrasing your question, but even before the present Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago came in, CARICOM had already met with both presidents, and in an agreement called the Argyle Agreement, I'm sure it's online, you can find it somewhere, CARICOM fostered an agreement between Venezuela, Maduro at the time, President Maduro at that point, and President Ali from Guyana, and came up with the Argyle Agreement. I felt proud. Let me tell you why I felt proud. Because here we were going to face a serious conflict, possibility of a serious conflict with Venezuela and Guyana. And CARICOM stepped in, brought both of them together. Not words, but brought them together in action and had an agreement. And as a result of that, there was no military conflict between Guyana and Venezuela. And as a result of that, I think CARICOM should be given a significant amount of credit for that significant agreement that was reached in what we call now, or term now, the Argyle Agreement of no conflict between Guyana and Venezuela.
Just follow up quick. There was a little bit of conflict during the election time for Guyana recently. There were the Venezuela military on the border of Essequibo, where they actually fired shots across to the Guyana soldiers. Some of them got injured. So I don't know if you're aware of that. You can look into that.
Right. So there were some skirmishes.
Right.
But there was no outright war. And what we did when those skirmishes happened, so we stepped in a lot behind the scenes, and we were able to quell those things.
Okay,
right?
good.
So we used that type of diplomacy. And I want to continue, but I really want to give somebody else a chance, because you asked 2 questions and I answered them extensively. You were able to follow up. Maybe you can come around again, right? Just give somebody else a chance so that we can go forward. And then, we go around. Oh, I didn't realize that. Sorry, I did not realize.
Good afternoon, Zach Hendrickson. Earlier today, you said young citizens have access to land ownership. So my question is to you, is what new initiatives are being considered to reduce youth unemployment and skill mismatches? And my second question relates to climate and the Sustainable Island State Agenda. That question is, what tangible progress has been made towards the Sustainable Island State Agenda?
Right. Yeah. Thank you very much for those questions, especially on the matter of youth unemployment. We were able to bring down youth unemployment significantly. Presently, we have over 30,000 people registered with Social Security, actually paying now, not receiving benefits. And the population of St. Kitts and Nevis is just about 52,000. So when you take out children and elderly, it means most people in St. Kitts and Nevis, most people are working. However, you made a very good point with respect to the youth. And so what we have done a significant amount of work with the youth. For example, skill training, for example. We have entered into the area of training our youth in multiple things. Cybersecurity, technician in the solar space. We have also increased the number of opportunities, training opportunities for the youth in St. Kitts and Nevis, because a lot of the times we want our youth to be trained so that they can take advantage of a lot of the jobs that are available. So just looking at the numbers alone tells us that a lot of people are working. And secondly, these type of programs are streamlined so that our youth can take advantage of these jobs. many times we can't even fill a lot of the positions that are available, especially in the private sector. Sometimes I know a lot of people might come to the government, but in the private sector, sometimes it's a challenge to fill those positions. Now, we are going to chat a new strategy, which I'm going to announce in about 6 weeks, which will deal specifically with the youth. We're going to bring all of the programs geared towards youth under one umbrella. So I'm going to make the announcement in about 2 months. And this is going to be geared directly at youth to make sure that the issue of youth employment is dealt with separately to others. Why? Because youth are at, they have the highest risk of being unemployed, right? Because some people say, you don't have any experience, you haven't gone this and that. And sometimes I say, well, you want all well, how do you get the experience if you didn't hire them, right? So we are going to actually launch a program that's going to deal specifically with the youth and the economy. And that program, I think you would see. So I want to ask you, thank you for that question, and that is how we are going to deal specifically with that matter. On the matter of the sustainable island state, we are advancing significantly with the sustainable island state agenda. For example, the sustainable island state agenda has about 7 pillars, maybe 8 we might add, wealth creation might be the 7th one. On energy, we are now getting ready to launch the RFP for 50 megawatt solar plant here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And in the next 2 days, we are hoping to close the procurement process for the geothermal on Nevis. I want to say that we are very, very advanced. I had not been speaking about it too much, but I can say that by the end of this month, we would have closed the procurement process for the geothermal on Nevis. So that would be the most advanced that process would have started. Geothermal is renewable energy, and it can produce the energy for St. Kitts and Nevis. The solar plant will produce energy for St. Kitts and Nevis. That is all part of the sustainable island state. The other one was water security. As I mentioned today, we are going to commission the desalination plant on the 24th of this month, and I hope the media will be there. We are also drilling. So when it comes to energy security and water security, we are well on our way. When it comes to healthcare and social services or social protection, as you know, we are in the process now of, among other things that I mentioned we have done in health, is to build a national hospital, which is ongoing, as we know. To build a hospital is very complex. It's the most complex thing to do. And of course, it has a lot of details and so forth. And all of these things are being sought through at this point. So that's from healthcare in terms of social protection as well. And so when you look at food security, presently we are building out a greenhouse village. It will be about 26 greenhouses, and it will produce a significant amount of food. We are already cultivating about 100 plus acres in the Keon area, which I'll visit in the next couple of weeks so that the people can see where we are. So that is going to help significantly with our food security. From the technology side, I want to say that in June this year, we are on track to launch our national ID, electronic national ID. So you'll have it on your phone. And so you'll have a card. Everything will be on it. And you can put your card here. You can take your card and go into a bank and open an account with that national ID. It's different to the voter's ID. It's a national ID, but we say the voter's ID. When you go in there, that will be able to verify your address, verify who you are. So you can just use that to do all of your business transaction. And therefore, we hope that will speed up business and make things more convenient. As a matter of fact, we'll use the technology so that you can apply for your passport online. So you just apply for your passport online and then go for your biometrics and just pick up your passport. And we hope that we will have by further this year as well. In terms of technology, we just launched, tomorrow the app is being launched for consumer affairs, where you'll have it and you can go into a supermarket and see if the price is too high. And if the price is too high, you can take a picture of it or put in the information and it's received. The supermarket has, a a bottle of water for $20 when it should be $2.50. And then action will be taken, and the price control officers will go around and just enter the data there, and then we analyze the data to see if there's price gouging and so forth, and be able to monitor. So that is going to be launched tomorrow. And then we also have the electronic health record system, which was built by a company here. I'll make the announcement. I can't make the announcement yet until everything is sealed, but it's a multi-million-dollar contract that a company here with very young people, a lot of young people, will win. So you talk about youth unemployment, you'll see young people winning a contract of almost $7 million. They beat out all these big companies around the world. And what they produced was evaluated by international experts, and they won on merit. And they now will sign a contract for about $7 million for our electronic health record system. And it will be young people like you who will be making some real money, right? So that is from the technology side. So when you look at our housing, we are nearly up to 1,000 houses now based on our policies. Some come through NHC. The others we have for first-time home owners, cutting the concessions, interest rates very low, so that not everybody wants an NHC house. There are those who would say, look, I want to be able to build, but not an NHC home. NHC homes are really nice. I'm just saying those who have other options. They can benefit from first-time home ownership, and they can also benefit from the lowest interest rate that the banks have ever had for mortgages in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we saw a boom in terms of housing construction. And that is why TDC made a profit, because a lot of their profit came from the construction industry. So we have seen a lot of houses built. So we have created the environment to stimulate home construction, and that has helped. So I just wanted to go through some of those matters in terms of the sustainable island state. That is why we increased the minimum wage to the highest in the OECS at this particular time, because wages, protect people and so forth. And so we wanted to do that. That is why we gave pension to our GAE workers in government for the first time in history. We have made health insurance lifelong for all civil servants and GAE workers with the government. So if you work for the government, you will have your insurance until God decides to take you from this earth, which was never done before. They used to take off people at 75 years old, but we have cut that so that people can have that sort of protection as they get older. So I mentioned healthcare, social programs, energy, water, investments, and so forth, to show that the sustainable island state is well on track to be achieved, and we are very, very proud of that. But one of the areas where young people are doing well, and next, it's interesting. A set of young people just won another contract to develop the IT solutions for Ministry of Tourism. So these young people are stepping up. Another set of young people made the IT solutions for the ferry services. So the young people seems to be gravitating a lot towards the tech, making real money. Real money I'm talking here, not token. Real money, because they're bringing real solutions. And that $7 million contract, multi-year contract, will bring so much. And I know they have another 2 or 3 real contracts that they can win, and I'm sure that they'll be in a good position too, so that they can do well. And lastly, to say CWIT, which is the training area. The reason why we form CWIT, so that young people can get certification in the technical fields. So you can go there and get certified as a carpenter, as a plumber, as an electrician, and this makes you more marketable in terms of being able to get a job. And so you can decide if you want to work here, or you can travel. Nothing wrong with traveling if your skills are needed elsewhere. I can say just recently, a number of persons traveled to Turks and Caicos to work in the hotel industry at Sandals. The new Sandals have opened there. They came, they trained, they recruit, and now they have gone. Because across the region, you have to be so qualified. You can move around, because it's one region. Sometimes, you live in the US. The US is huge. You're in California, you might say, well, a job open up in New York. If we are seeking to come together as a region, if you are here in St. Kitts and Nevis and your skills are needed, let's say in Turks and Caicos, why not? One day, the people in Turks and Caicos will say, a position open up in St. Kitts, let's move. So the movement of people to fill this position is also part of the strategy of making sure that our youths can have opportunity as well. Prepare them for, multiple areas where they can work and use their skills accordingly. Thank you very much. Yes? Mm-hmm.
No, sir.
Good afternoon.
Lorraine Wilkin from WinFM. My first question relates to the CARICOM, the upcoming meeting. And I'm going to ask whether to date any representative from the, from Mr. Trump's administration has confirmed their attendance at the meeting. And if so, any indication of what their particular interest would be at this meeting, the topic of that? That's
Okay.
one question.
Yeah, have it. Mm-hmm.
My second one is, has there been any follow-up discussion in respect of the pause in the immigration status? And have any of the agreed deportees landed here yet?
Okay, good. Right.
That's it.
So let me start from the last one. Secondly, no deportees have landed here. I know there is an American aircraft on the tarmac, and people are saying, I see all sort of news going around that deportees might be here. So your question is well put, and I want to answer directly. No deportees have come to St. Kitts and Nevis. As you know, and I have said it to the country, that there was an agreement with respect to CARICOM nationals based on what is the status with immigration. And so we have reached that with the US. But more of that. But I can say clearly today that no deportees have come to St. Kitts and Nevis. Secondly, every year, St. Kitts and Nevis does a program with Taiwan and the United States, the Southern Command of the United States Air Force. So this is not new. We call it LAMAT, Leeward Island Medical Assistance, right? Leeward Island Medical Assistant Program, LAMAT, L-A-M-A-T. And the Southern Command send their doctors to St. Kitts and Nevis. This has been happening for the last 3 years. So this is not new. And LAMAT is going to be launched very, very soon. And so the Southern Command is already coming in, all right? I think people are heightened because of what is happening in the region, but if they reflect, they will recognize that this aircraft like this come from time to time. However, I can say that we look forward for the medical professionals or healthcare professionals from the Southern Command of the United States military in association with Taiwan and St. Kitts and Nevis, that LAMAT will take place. So it's not new. It has happened before, and it continues to happen. And when they come, they do a lot of work for us. I can tell you, they will come and they will fix all of our equipment that need fixing, for example. Tremendous. They will do certain surgeries for us that are complicated surgeries. So we will go meet the people, line up. We'll check people's ear, people's eyes, so that they can get medical service that might be very challenging to get because we may not have the specialists, or there might be a financial constraint on these persons. And LAMAT does that. So I want to thank the United States of America through its Southern Command, and also the Republic of China, Taiwan, for this excellent medical assistance program. So I think I answered that last question. Now, in terms of CARICOM, every time there's CARICOM, you would invite the United States of America, Europe, your international partners, and so forth. And then they would determine who they would send to that meeting. So you send these invitations, of course, and then they will determine who they would send. So I can say that the American will have representation at the meeting, and they always have representation at the meeting. We have not determined what the agenda between the U.S. specifically yet, but of course we'll discuss matters of the region and the U.S. and the relationship and other matters that are happening. But I can tell you that the U.S. will send their representative as they are accustomed. They will inform us as to the level of that representation. And based on the level of representation, you'll manage it in a particular way, right? You'll manage it in a particular way for many reasons, right? Many logical and I would say plausible reasons as to why you'll manage it in a particular way until such moment. But I can tell you the United States will be represented, Europe will be represented, other international partners will be represented. You have representation from Saudi Arabia, representation from the UAE, representation from the African continent, North America, and so forth. As to the specific ones, they will inform us when, or we will say when we know it's appropriate to say as well. But yes, there will be representation from the US and others. And so I think those were your two questions in terms of the agenda. That agenda continues to be a live document, and we're still, of course, finalizing that. And some things are discussed very private inside, but what comes out would be the outcome after those discussion, which would be shared with the public.
Yes, Prime Minister Drew, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon.
Avery Lywood, Freedom FM. Two questions. One, with the tightening of the economic blockade on Cuba causing electricity and food shortages, and with Jamaica having already called some of their students home, can you provide an update on the well-being of our students currently studying there and any measures being taken to support them? That's one. And then two, in light of recent media reports of yet another U.S. military strike in Caribbean waters and the growing buildup of U.S. naval and air assets in the region, including carriers, destroyers, and ongoing operations, described as part of Operation Southern Spear, what is the government of St. Kitts and Nevis's position on this increased military activity so close to home, and how does it assess the implications for regional security?
Right. Thank you very much. With respect to our students, I had a conversation very recently with the ambassador, our ambassador in Cuba, Ambassador Her Excellency Mrs. Verna Mills, and she updated me on the matter with the students that they are seeking to make sure that the students are kept as in good stead, and that if there's any issue at any point that we have to address, then we will definitely address it. And if our students would have to leave, that but those discussions have not come up as yet. I've also met with the Cuban ambassador to St. Kitts and Nevis, and he said things were being done to secure the students. But we continue to monitor the situation, and I will continue to stay in touch with our ambassador there, who is assessing the situation, and the ambassador of Cuba to St. Kitts and Nevis to see when there will be what the developments will be, and that will dictate the decisions. So we are watching the situation and monitoring the situation very, very closely. So I will say that. We have sent help to our students before. When I was not in government, my foundation sent support to the Cuban students because there were some challenges even before this. And even since then, I've been in government, we have sent support. And my foundation also help as well. From the government, from my foundation, others, to send help to our students in Cuba. But of course, the situation has changed, and we are monitoring it very, very closely. Now, with respect to Southern Spear, and there was, I think, some activities in St. Vincent and St. Lucia. The prime ministers, they have not sent out any specific information on that matter as yet, and we are hoping to see what is, what's that all about from their perspective, being the countries directly involved. So we continue to monitor that situation as well. Let me say that recently the commissioner and the commander of the Defense Force, Major Sutton, traveled for high-level meetings with respect to the security issues that are taking place in the Caribbean. So that's one. And that interface helped tremendously in understanding and putting having discussions around the matter. But I can say that this matter, I'm sure, will be a matter that will be discussed at CARICOM in the next week or so, when all leaders would have met, and we would discuss this matter and as a region determine where we would go on this particular matter. This matter is not just a St. Kitts Nevis matter, it is a regional matter. But of course, we always want to maintain our security here in the region. There are challenges, there are limitations, but CARICOM, I know, will continue to engage. And next week, we will engage more profoundly when all of us meet face to face to discuss these security matters.
Good afternoon, Ebony Brandon, SKN Source. Here we go. Okay, that's better. Good afternoon, Prime Minister.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Yes.
Prime Minister, I came with the intention to ask some completely different questions, but as happens sometimes,
Yes.
directions change. I want to ask about this whole question of population, but not from the have more children angle, although you're encouraging it.
Right.
The Constitution provides for a number of pathways to citizenship. It is because of these avenues to citizenship under Chapter 8, I believe, 92. And then there is a section in there, residency. It speaks to Parliament having the ability to determine persons who can receive citizenship. In fact, what the Constitution says is that if you have satisfied certain requirements, you are entitled to citizenship by registration. So I am wondering if not so much for OECS citizens because of the arrangements that already exist and the ease of movement existing within OECS, but CARICOM specifically, has your administration given any thought to perhaps CARICOM citizens more broadly, and especially going into this meeting next week, to considering making a pathway, which I would believe falls under Section 92(1)H of the Constitution, where Parliament itself can determine persons who are eligible for citizenship. I say this because we have in our mind that the Constitution says that there's a residency requirement of 14 years. It doesn't actually say is a residency requirement of 14 years. What it says is if you are a Commonwealth citizen and you have resided here for 14 years continuously prior to the date of application, you are entitled to apply for citizenship. It might encourage more persons to stay and to start families and businesses and so on if they don't think that that 14 years, quote unquote, is an encumbrance to doing so. And in addition to which you have to pay work permits and all of these other things that can be prohibitive to persons wanting to stay in the country even though they're comfortable here, but it's just not cost effective to do so. Have you considered that as a means to increasing the population as well? Because we have so many CARICOM citizens who are already here among us. And when we look at the Citizenship by Investment Program, what we have essentially done is carved out a special way for persons to become citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis without satisfying a quote-unquote residency requirement. The other question I would want to ask has to do with the issue of prostate cancer that you brought up earlier. One of the things that has prohibited men from taking their prostate health seriously is the fact that there is that digital exam. A lot of men have an aversion to going to a urologist and being examined in that way. There is a prostate-specific antigen blood test which is now available that can be done. Are you aware if it is available in St. Kitts and Nevis, which might increase the likelihood of men being diagnosed early for prostate cancer and enhance the mortality outcome for persons with prostate cancer?
Right, those are very, very insightful questions. I'll answer the last one first. At each clinic in St. Kitts and Nevis, we have a men's program. So we call it men's clinic. So there's a specific day for men's clinic. On that day, you can go in and get your prostate test done, the PSA, free of cost. So presently, it is available. Guess what? Our men are not accessing it enough. When you have the women clinic, oh my God, they're full. But the men's clinic. So we think we really need to bring men together so that men can dialogue and talk and, you know, and support each other. Let me tell you, people think men don't need support and men are always macho. One has nothing to do with the other as far as I'm concerned. Do you know what is the longest line in St. Kitts and Nevis for healthcare? When the free prostate test is held at the lodge. The line is from inside all the way out, men. And the reason why I think men go, because men feel that that is a safe space. And when they're going to meet more men, and men can talk to men in men language and support each other. And so we need that space for men. And men need to learn that from women. Women create those spaces for themselves, and that is wonderful. It's a good model. We know we need men to do it as well, so that they can get in groups and talk like men about prostate matters. And how is it you could get a line with scores of men lining up to take the finger? The finger is not the problem. The problem is the support. Because they feel a sense of support and a safe space is created, the men are willing to subject themselves to that. So when a man go in and do it, he come up, boy, I went in and do it. So he's telling the next man, you could do it too, and they support each other. And so we need men to support men, because I realize it is the support that is the issue and not the finger itself, right? Because, yes, so they know they can get the blood test, more will come, but that is the point again, because they know they can do a blood test, I'm telling you. But why is it they're not going for the blood test? But on a particular day where a lot of men will gather, they're not only going for the blood test, they're willing to go for the digital exam, the finger test. Think about it. Very interesting. But I know it's about support. They feel a sense of community and a safe space. And that is what drives them to it. So forming the prostate health foundation can bring men so that men can support each other and encourage each other. And I think it would help tremendously. With respect to the population, and you are correct, because migration has to be one of the ways, of course, inward, has to be one of the ways in which you can grow a population. Of course, you have to manage it. With respect to the time that you have to be here and so forth, I think that we have discussed those, but those are broader discussions we'll want to have with our people first. You will need to do town hall meetings. You need to do consultation with the people and ask the people, in an effort to increase our population, this is one of the ways that we can consider. So I can clearly say that this has been discussed, and we have reached the decision that in order to do something like this, it would be wise to consult with the people. But you have brought a valid point, which is an extremely good point in terms of how we can attract more people here in St. Kitts and Nevis. All right. All right.
Just before we wrap up, Prime Minister, I'll invite you to for your closing remarks,
Yes,
and then we end
right.
today's session of the roundtable.
Thank you very much, First Secretary, Mr. Javan Libard. I want to thank the press for being here this afternoon and asking the questions that are to be asked. I create this forum so that we can sit and talk to each other in a sense. So today we dealt with the Frigate Bay Golf Course, where I shared information, the health matters with respect to maternal deaths and support to breast cancer foundations and the move to establish a prostate health foundation. We have also mentioned significant renovations to the Cardin home and spent some time on the CARICOM matters and the geopolitical matters. So I want to say to our people that this government will continue to work and work in your best interests to establish a sustainable island state where our people can live well. This government will continue to be transparent and open so that we can have the best, I would say, scenario for us to be a successful St. Kitts and Nevis. So at the end of the day, I will say that the Cabinet of St. Kitts and Nevis, and I would like to thank all of our people in the Cabinet of St. Kitts and Nevis, my fellow colleagues who are working along with me as the Prime Minister to bring this. And I would like to thank the people of St. Kitts and Nevis for their continued trust and confidence in us as an administration. I am happy again to announce that in just a short week or so, we will commission the first publicly owned or government-owned desalination plant, which is already producing 2 million gallons per day of potable water. This is the largest. This will be the largest plant in St. Kitts, period. Not the first, because there's some private ones, but the largest in St. Kitts, period. So we continue to build out St. Kitts and Nevis so that we can be that sustainable island state. So with that, I say good afternoon and God bless all of us. Thank you.
With the media in efforts to ensure that their questions or concerns are addressed. We continue to extend gratitude to all the platforms that facilitate the live airing of the roundtable, ensuring that the public and our citizens within the diaspora and locally, of course, remain at front and center of what is happening in the government. To our listeners and viewers, thank you for tuning in. To the members of the media, thank you for being here. This was the roundtable. See you next time.